Welcome to the Papyrus Global Television Africa News Update. I am Christiana Babayo and here are today's top headlines. South Africa child protection and gender-based violence crisis. Cameroon separatists ceasefire during Pope Leo XIV visit. Eastern DR Congo conflict escalation. Continental debate over anti-LGBTQ laws. Sudan civil war enters fourth year. Africa Union faces youth governance backlash. Ghana economic hardship triggers protests. Uganda security law debate intensifies. Tanzania media freedom concerns resurface. Sahel military governments face pressure. And now the news in details. South Africa is experiencing renewed national outreach as cases of child abuse, teenage pregnancy and gender-based violence continue to rise across KwaZulu-Natal, Gauteng, Eastern Cape and Western Cape. The government of President Cyril Ramaphosa in Pretoria is under growing pressure to strengthen enforcement of child protection laws and improve coordination between police, schools and health services. The South African Police Service, led by National Commissioner General Fanny Masemola, is facing criticism over delays in investigating sexual violence cases involving minors, with activists calling for urgent reform. Between April 8 and 12, 2026, protests took place in Johannesburg, Cape Town and Durban, where demonstrators marched under slogans demanding justice for victims. In Braamfontein, Johannesburg, students from Wits University joined civil society groups in sit-ins outside government offices, while activists in Cape Town near the Western Cape Provincial Legislature demanded stronger child protection funding. Organizations such as Shenke, Gender, Justice and Save the Children South Africa say systemic failures continue to expose vulnerable children to ongoing abuse. In Cameroon, separatist fighters linked to the Ambazonia Defense Forces ADF have declared a temporary ceasefire in parts of the northwest and southwestern regions. The ceasefire reportedly affects conflict zones including Bamenda, Buea, Lebralem, Mizam, Batibo, Rome and Manyu Division. Commanders known as No Pity and General Bitter Truth are linked to the announcement, although no unified command structure has confirmed full compliance. President Paul Biya in Yaoundé has not endorsed the ceasefire but has ordered security forces to remain on high alert. Defense Minister Joseph Beti Asomo has reinforced military deployments along key roads such as the Bamenda-Buea Highway corridor. Religious leaders including Archbishop Andrew Nkea of Bamenda and Archbishop Samuel Kleda of Douala have welcomed the temporary reduction in violence, calling it a fragile opportunity for dialogue during the visit of Pope Leo XIV. Violence continues to intensify in the Democratic Republic of Congo, particularly in North Kivu and Ituri provinces, where clashes between M23 rebels and the armed forces of the DR continue. Military operations under Brigadier General Sylvian Ekenge are concentrated along the Rushuru-Masisi axis, a key conflict corridor. In Ituri province, militia groups including Codeco and ADF-linked fighters are carrying out attacks in Jugu and Irumu territories, targeting civilians and disrupting humanitarian access. Thousands of civilians have fled towards Goma, Beni and Bukavu as displacement camps become increasingly overcrowded. Reports of alleged mass graves near Kichanga and Mwesu in North Kivu are under investigation, though authorities have not yet confirmed the findings. The government of President Felix Tshisekedi in Kinshasa says operations are ongoing under the leadership of Lieutenant General Christian Chiwewe, while the UN mission MONUSCO warns of a worsening humanitarian crisis. A growing legal and political debate over LGBTQ rights is intensifying across several African countries. In Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni continues enforcement of strict anti-LGBTQ laws through the Uganda police force, with rights groups reporting arrest and rising discrimination cases. In Ghana, Speaker of the Parliament Alban Bagbin is overseeing heated debates in Accra over a controversial bill that could further criminalize same-sex relationships. In Senegal, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye's government in Dakar faces pressure from both religious groups and international human rights organizations over proposed legal tightening. In Burkina Faso, the transition government, led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Ouagadougou, is also reviewing moral and social legislation. Human rights organizations, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, warn that the trend is contributing to fear, discrimination, and reduced access to basic services for affected communities. Sudan's war continues between the Sudanese Armed Forces SAF led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan in Khartoum and the Rapid Support Forces RSF led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. The conflict remains active across Khartoum, Darfur, El Fasher and Kordofan, with heavy fighting and widespread displacement. The United Nations in Geneva estimates more than 12 million people have been displaced, while over 25 million require urgent humanitarian assistance. The World Food Programme warns of worsening famine conditions, while the UN Security Council in New York continues emergency discussions on ceasefire and humanitarian access. We will now take a short break and the news will continue when we come back.
Paglogma 2026. The Papyrus Global launches new series starting Tuesday, 3rd March 2026. The conversation starts now across Africa. Our languages may differ, our borders may separate us, but our struggles bear semblance. Communities seeking opportunities, youth demanding inclusion, citizens calling for transparency. These are realities that unite us. Africa is united by a common challenge and a common responsibility, building resilient, inclusive, and sustainable communities. To set this conversation in motion, the Papyrus Global is launching the pre-conference live series, Governance That Touches Lives. Let's start where it matters the most.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue. The Africa Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, is facing growing criticism from youth movements across Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and Ghana. The Pan-African Youth Union says the AU has failed to effectively enforce democratic standards and respond to governance crisis in member states. Youth activists cite unemployment, corruption, and political instability as key drivers of frustration across the continent. An AU official acknowledged concerns over the gap between policy frameworks and national realities across Africa. Economic pressure continues to rise in Ghana, with protests recorded in Accra, Kumasi, and Tamale over fuel price increases and inflation. Market activity in Makola Market in Accra and Kijesha Market in Kumasi has slowed, with traders reporting declining sales and reduced income. Transport unions warn that rising fuel costs are increasing fares and deepening hardship for commuters. Government officials say reforms are underway in Accra, but civil society groups are demanding faster and more direct relief measures. In Kampala, Uganda Parliament is debating new security and public order legislation. Opposition leader Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Bobi Wine has warned that the laws could be used to restrict political opposition and civic freedoms. The Uganda police force maintains that the reforms are necessary to ensure national stability and control public demonstrations. Civil society groups warn that vague provisions could lead to misuse of enforcement powers. In Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, journalists report increasing regulatory pressure from the Tanzania Communications Regulatory Authority. Media watchdogs such as CPJ and Reporters Without Borders warn of shrinking press freedom and growing self-censorship. The government in Dodoma denies censorship allegations, stating that regulations are intended to maintain professionalism and prevent misinformation. Military-led governments in Mali, Assimi Goïta, Niger, General Abdourahmane Tiani, and Burkina Faso Captain Ibrahim Traoré are facing increasing political and security pressure. The Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, in Abuja, Nigeria, continues to demand clear electoral transition timelines. Insecurity across the Liptako-Goma region continues to undermine stabilization efforts and regional cooperation. Analysts warn that prolonged transitional rule without elections could deepen instability across the Sahel. And that brings us to the end of today's African News Update. But before we go, here is a recap of our main stories. South Africa child protection and gender-based violence crisis. Cameroon separatist ceasefire during Pope Leo XIV visit. Eastern DR Congo conflict escalation. Continental debate over anti-LGBTQ laws. For continuous coverage and breaking developments, stay connected with the Papyrus Global Television at papyrusdaily.com. I am your host, Christiana Babayo. Thank you for watching and have a safe and informative evening.